Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to do something quite different from what I usually do, and that would be a slab cake, or what some people would call a sheet cake. I like the word slab cake better. It makes it sound more trendy, so we're going to call it a slab cake. Now, just because it is a slab cake doesn't mean it can't be pretty. And this is kind of a trend that I'm noticing that sometimes people are veering away from the tall tiered cakes in lieu of doing shorter, more, like the sheet cake idea. Or other desserts like a stacked meringue cake, or they're going for other options. So I thought I'd go ahead and show you how to make these really pretty. This is not your old school sheet cake by any means. And what I'm starting off with is just a regular sheet cake. This one, it has a lot of caramelization on it. Don't worry, it's not burnt. It's just this recipe has a lot of, but some extra sugars in it. And of course, that's going to turn it a little darker where the cake meets the pan. So that's why that's happening. But I wanted to show you how I fill my sheet cakes. Try to make it a little bit less daunting and a little bit easier. I'm taking an extra board. I had torted it in half. Well, first I took off the hump, then I dumped it out onto the table, onto my turntable, and I torted it, and I put that parchment paper on the board. Now, if you're going to use the grease-proof boards, I would suggest doing that. I didn't have them, so that's why I wanted to make sure that I put the parchment paper on there, because that's going to help keep it from sticking to the piece of cardboard that I have there. And once I had simple syrup them, I put them in the freezer, is what I did. This is another trick. Put them in the freezer so that flash freeze them so that they're easier to handle. That is key, guys. Don't be afraid to do that. You're not drying out your cake. Your simple syrup is already in there, and you're only putting it in your freezer for maybe 15 minutes. It's not going to do any damage. Now, and then I'm using a very thickened dam because this is going to have a fruit filling. This is a sparkling lemonade cake with a strawberry filling. So I did a thickened dam around the outside edge, and I used that same thickened buttercream to put a layer of buttercream on the bottom. Now, you don't have to use the thickened. I had it right there. Just went ahead and used it, and that's fine. And that's going to protect your cake from getting soaked through on the bottom layer with that strawberry filling because it's thinner. I mean, it's a gel consistency, but it's going to soak into your cake faster. So that's why I like to do a little protective border on the bottom there with a thin layer of buttercream. And I like to use my spatula, I don't know if you caught that I did that there, to kind of pull in your dammed portion into the rest of the buttercream a little bit. That is just making sure that that filling is not going to sneak out in between your thin layer of buttercream and your dam. Now, a dam is just thickened buttercream. And then I'm doing a thin-ish layer of strawberry, the homemade strawberry filling. And then since this top layer is it's not even frozen, flash chilled in the freezer, we'll say that, it's so much easier to put on top. You don't have to touch the bottom cake. It's not going to drag on there. So that's key. Then I go in with some more of the thickened buttercream to just reinforce that dam is pushed in there nice. And then we're going to do a thin crumb coat. Always do a crumb coat, even on your sheet cakes, guys. People tend to it's a lot of surface area on a sheet cake. And I think that's where people get intimidated or run into problems, is when you don't take these little steps to make your overall project easier to handle. So definitely do a crumb coat. Don't try to do this all in one coat. You're going to get lost in your buttercream. Now, you don't have to worry about getting this perfect because you're going to do another coat on top of this. But I find that this is where your foundation is laid for your crisp corners. Try to make sure that you get those corners as crisp as you can, even with your crumb coat. Take the extra 5 minutes to do that because that's going to help you with your final coat. Then I'm just smoothing it with my metal scraper. I kind of go with the corners. I go from the corner into the middle on a side, corner into the middle, and then I go from the other corner into the middle. And that way you're not dragging your buttercream from the edges too far into the middle. I don't know if that makes sense. It just kind of keeps extra buttercream on those corners. And then for the final coat, after it has been chilled again for another 20 minutes in your freezer, or 10 minutes in the freezer, 20 in your refrigerator, I have my final coat of buttercream, which is a very pale lavender purple. And I like to pack that buttercream in those corners first. Make sure you have plenty of buttercream in those corners. And also make sure that your buttercream goes far enough. I kind of did a border around the top there before I filled in those sides, because that's another corner. If you think about it, that's another corner. You want to make sure that your buttercream is packed in there. And then fill in between. And then use your scrapers to smooth it down again from the outside into the middle, from the outside into the middle. And then once you get those sides and corners good, go into the top and go from the corners first. I drag it in from the corners first on each corner, and then I go for the sides. That's just what works for me. And now I'm doing the details, and I'm just using two 1M, I think it's two 1M tips and one French tip. Yes, because I wanted the 1M tip for the two different colors of the purple. And then the French tip I'm just used on the paler purple. I did rosettes, and then I did those little hearts, and then just different types of piping to add interest into your border around the edge. And I like to do three colors, 3 tips. Well, 2 tips, but 3 colors for sure. And then at least 3 different types of piping to add interest onto what could potentially be a boring sheet cake. It really takes it up a notch. Then I had some of those. They're non-edible, but you could make chocolate gold spheres if you want to. But those are non-edible. They're just regular cake toppers. Think about it as if you order plastic cake toppers or get plastic cake toppers from a bakery, like a grocery store bakery, everybody knows to take those off, right? Nobody's going to eat those. So don't worry about it. Just tell them about it. Then some more dragées. And then we had these gold, what would you call it, mirrored decorations. The happy birthday with a butterfly, which coincides and goes really well with the other butterflies that I added. Now you can add those butterflies with a little bit of buttercream or even some piping gel to get them to hold in place. And just eyeball it, put them on there. If you don't like them where you put them, rearrange them. And here's our final product. I hope you guys learned something from this. Again, this is not something that I've done a lot, is sheet cakes, but they are kind of coming back and we need to move with the trends. Don't forget about the tiered cakes. Never forget about the tiered cakes. Please, don't forget about the tiered cakes. But change it up a little bit and get some variation. And I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something, and we'll catch you on the next one.